special guest exclusive podcast right here on the TranCatNight.org website. Folks, today is January 27th, 2021. Hopefully you all are having a very wonderful and blessed day. As always, we continue to keep the programming moving along at TranCatNight.org, your number one Catholic podcast and information service, folks. 75 plus podcasts a month, truly unheard of in the podcasting community and perhaps even amongst the radio show world. I'm doing my best to keep everyone informed and in tune with all of the various subtopics as it relates to the New World Order, from the apostasy in the church to the breaking down of literally everything. And one of my favorite topics to cover is prepping and survivalism. And we've got one of the best here. He's been joining us now pretty frequently for the last half a year or so, Stefan Verstappen, and we'll get him to get us all the wonderful reminders in regards to his social media, his YouTube channel, his website, folks, here in just a moment. But I do want to make mention of this. Outside of, we just finished up with our past Faith Over Fear web conference. You can pick up a copy of that for a $10 gift donation if you want to get all five bundled together. I'm running a great little program here for the short term. I'm not even quite sure how long I'm going to let this go on for, because it's 50% off, folks. All five web conferences for a $25 gift donation. That's 20 hours of video programming from some of the best speakers out there, of course. Again, we've done so many wonderful web conferences with just a lot of great interaction, a lot of great questions, and I've got news for everyone today. We now pretty much have finalized the roster for the February 20th Scared or Prepared, Survive and Thrive, TranCat Night Prepping Survivalist web conference. We're going to have Morgan Rogue there from Rogue Preparedness, Jim Walton from the Prepper Broadcasting Network, Pinball Preparedness, and his name is Ken Partika, ex-military. He's got an up-and-coming YouTube channel, which is really taking off. Provident Prepper team, Kylene and John will be there, and also Stefan has agreed to join us for that one, folks. February the 20th, 3 to 7 p.m. I'll start working on getting that conference together here over the next 72 hours or so. Stefan, wow, thank you so much for joining the program. Since we last talked, I believe it's been a few months. I know life has been quite hectic on both of our ends, so it's good to get caught back up with you. And I know for today you wanted to talk about urban tactics under communism, picking back up, and really I guess the main point that I want to make, and it's a point that's being made by a lot of people, is this, Stefan, in regards to getting off grid as best as we can amidst all of the surveillance tech that they have, right? The smartphones, the video games, the computer screens watching us, the drones up in the sky. Is it truly possible to go off the radar when we're dealing with this technocratic communist world order? And thank you for joining us, Stefan.
Well, thanks, Eric, for having me back on. Sorry that we misconnected the last couple of times. That was purely my fault. Is it possible to go off grid? No, it's not. It's not. They've got everything locked down. Like I've been saying for years. First of all, I have never in my life owned a smartphone. I haven't even owned a cell phone in 20 years. I mean, and I try my best to keep a low profile, but you got to understand, they know everything about you. You can go off grid and you can buy yourself a little bit of time, but that's the best case scenario unless we are able to bring down this new world communist satanic order. If we can't get rid of these people, then there's no going off grid.
Wow. Now, you've been doing an awful lot. Well, I mean, decent amount of interviews here. I've actually been trying to get, what's her name? Deanna Spignola, isn't she? I think she's over at Republican Broadcasting Network. Right. So, yeah. I've been trying to get her on my show. She's hard to get. But you also been doing other shows as well, I see. One of which, did you do Sean's show, SGT Report, a couple weeks ago? Or is that an older?
About a month ago, yeah. I've been on Sean's show about, I think, 4 or 5 times now.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've done his show like 3 times. Yeah. What did you guys discuss in that one? How we burned into camps, it says.
Right, how we burned into camps. So Sean got an email from one of his listeners, said, when do we fight back? Like, do we have the moral right to use violence to fight back against this? And so, my book on the way of the warrior and my videos such as, the pathetic foolishness of being nonviolent. So, listen, we've been raised to always, turn the other cheek. But I tell people, okay, I turn my cheek once. After that, I'm punching you in the nose. Sean had me on to talk about when it's right to use violence for self-defense. And my point is, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, is that we are already long past the point of using violence as self-defense. I came out with a video 5 years ago. It says, we are at war, and we are. The satanic New World Order, communists, pedophile, serial killer cabal that runs the world has been at war with humanity for 100 years now, and they've taken millions of casualties. For me, every person that ODs from methamphetamine is a casualty of the New World Order. Everybody that commits suicide is a casualty of the New World Order. Everybody that drinks themselves to death is a casualty. Everybody that gets cancer, whose family has broken up, everybody's been made homeless and destitute. These are the casualties. I mean, my God, we have lost millions of citizens to these bastards. And we're still going and we're still saying, oh, well, when should we fight back? We're way past the point of fighting back. We're way past the point of using violence as self-defense, because they've been murdering us by the millions for the last 100 years now. So that's my point, and that's why Sean had me on the show.
Yeah, and the role of maybe you could speak about the role of fear now killing folks. Again, I just got a message from one of my longtime followers, and we'll keep her anonymous here, but she asked that I keep her family in prayer and whatnot, but a nephew of theirs committed suicide, caving in under the fear now. We've got these lockdowns, which in part I think are to break us down. It's sort of in a war of an attrition to isolate us or whatnot, a communist tactic, but just moving forward. Again, this is why I had the last web conference, faith over fear. Like if you can't see the end result, then I would be, kind of paralyzed in fear or whatnot. And we could parlay that over into sort of the prepping and survivalist world in regards to having that mentality of even wanting to get up and fighting each and every day. And again, from a Christian standpoint, we're obviously fighting for Christ. We're trying to fight for these moral principles or something which are obviously not present in this in this country, and it keeps getting worse, and it's only going to get worse under Biden. Maybe you could speak to that too if you want. American politics, that's always a great topic, right? But yeah, it's crazy, Stefan, how we are living in a time when most people don't realize like the end, so to speak. We realize that change is hard, and maybe you could speak to that as to why it's so hard, why people can't. The vast majority of people can't make it through any particular scenario, depending upon what demographic area you're in, and just the mental side of things. Because I know one of my first podcasts I ever did was with E.J. Snyder on that Naked and Afraid show, and that's immediately what he started with. It's just the mental side of things. Like, just if you're not there with that, nothing else is going to work. Maybe you could pick up and run with that.
Well, you gave me subjects to pick up and run with, Eric. Which one should I choose first? Okay, let's go with the mental side of it. That was the reason I wrote my book, The Master's Guide to the Way of the Warrior, because at this point in history, if you hope to stand any chance of surviving, you have to become a warrior. Now, a warrior is somebody that has, I'm using, many classical examples of what a warrior is. From Confucius to Zen, even to the Templars. And that is somebody, yes, you have to be able to fight a little bit, know some self-defense moves, but that is not the primary pursuit. The primary pursuit is to be strong in your mind and your spirit, to have critical thinking and bravery. You need to be brave. You can't cower during these times, because if you cower, they will just step on you, as we've seen. Everybody goes along with the shutdown and the lockdown and the propaganda. Has it gotten better? No, they've doubled down on everything. I watched the news here. It's 24/7. Virus this, lockdown that, number of cases increasing. Oh my God, the fear porn is just, it makes me sick to listen to. I can't listen to it anymore. It's so blatant and in your face. Their attempts to terrify the population. So how do you fight that? Well, first of all, you have to be a warrior. You have to have self-confidence. You have to be strong. You have to be mentally strong. And like you said, I was going to respond to something you said, but, the way things change, a battle strategy is, to quote Lao Tzu, and also to quote Bruce Lee, is to be like water. You have to adapt. And when you say, well, so many people can't, they can't handle the new change. Well, you have to handle the new change. Life is change. That's one of the fundamental rules of existence on this planet. Everything is change. We know that. Nothing remains the same. And so to adapt yourself to change, you have to apply the principle of water, which means you avoid what is hard, you attack what is weak, and you adapt yourself. You have to be able to be fluid and go with the punches. Like in a sparring match, if you're fighting somebody, you have to adapt to their attacks and evade and counterattack. And it's the same thing with, the war, the spiritual war we are waging with the lunatics that run this world. You have to adapt to their attacks. Sometimes you have to evade. Sometimes you have to block. Sometimes you have to duck. Sometimes you have to hit them first. Depends on the circumstances, but we are in a spiritual battle now, and learning to be strong, self-reliant. So that's where we get into the prepper stuff too, because you have to be self-reliant. So prepping should be an obvious facet of your preparedness, or of your lifestyle now, because we're at war.
Uh-huh.
So prepping is to make yourself self-reliant. Then you have to be strong physically, so exercise, work out, train, take a few self-defense classes, learn how to shoot a firearm, get your firearm license, learn how to shoot, things like that. And then you have to think critically. Now, I always tell people, I never believe anything 100%. I'm always open to new information.
Sure.
That would change my perspective on things. If you have a good argument, I'm not married to all my stupid opinions about things. I find that to be a really common problem among people. They have an opinion. Oh my God, they'll never shake their opinion. Well, that makes you stagnant. That makes you brittle. You have to be able to take new information and adapt it and adjust your life accordingly. I don't know why that's a hard thing, but everybody loves their own opinion. But this love of their own opinion is ego. And, martial arts and the Zen way is to reduce your ego. So listen, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong. It's not a threat to me. And so as we go into what's going on now, people are going to say, well, I trusted the media. How could they be wrong? Well, maybe they're wrong. Well, I trusted the government. How could they be wrong? Well, maybe they could be wrong. Keep an open mind to things. Think about things critically. Anyways.
Yeah, no, that's very, very interesting too. Because again, I know this is a more popular, unpopular opinion, but I think the whole QAnon thing is a giant psyop, and trust the plan and this or that. And I'm like, as a Catholic, like, no, thank you. I mean, I'm not interested in trusting any secular plan on that level. But getting back to some of the things you said, it's very interesting because that's there's 7 principles to being an eagle. I mean, anyone can really look this up in general. That's why I find an eagle so fascinating, and tying it in with Catholic symbology and heraldry, especially the double-headed eagle, going back many centuries ago. But in regards to adapting, Principle 6 is eagles prepare well, adapt, and change. So as a Catholic, we're locked in like dogmatically, right, with teachings of the church. But outside of this, and this is why I keep my program as such, it would be a very boring channel if everyone came on my show and said everything I said. I want to learn from other people. This is why I bring on whatever area we're talking about, whether it's prepping or survivalism. I want to absorb like a sponge, see what people are saying, and like you said, when you're wrong, you're wrong. I've been wrong in times past. I thought the economic collapse was going to happen back in 2016. I was way wrong, even though I think it's still imminent now. I was wrong on that. You just own up to it. And you move along, and like you said, I think that's why a lot of people like doing this show, and they want to join, this community, is because I do allow anyone and everyone. I mean, I've got atheists who've come on the show, Hindus. Obviously you're coming at it from a different perspective, and I think we all, on this level, we can all learn from each other. We all bring something to the table to where it paints a very vibrant picture that there is a power, if you will, which is trying to bring down humanity, and from a Christian perspective, the church, we would argue. But that's very interesting that you mentioned Bruce Lee. Listen, growing up, I actually grew up, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you, one of my favorite things to watch outside of Saturday cartoons was the Saturday morning kung fu's. I love them. They were not only hilarious, but I did.
I remember those. Yeah,
you remember those? I mean,
yeah.
Oh my God, the long beards and what was it? The praying mantis style and all these different styles.
The 7 deadly venoms.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I used to go get some Chinese food and watch it with my brother. But in all seriousness, you mentioned Bruce Lee and to adapt, and also there was Mike Tyson. Don't forget, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? So you always got to have that plan, backup plan. Know what you're going to do. So always look ahead. And I think sometimes the Christian community, and it's true that we've just got to stay focused in on the moment. We might not make it through the day, but I'm also, as an ex-businessman, I'm always looking ahead. And this is why, I have been prepared. Like I was mentioning to Dr. Tenpenny off the air the other day, like if everything shut down today, right, and they forced everyone into vaccines all across the board or whatnot, like I'm literally entrenched and prepared for like the next 10 years. I kid you not, with food, water, and supplies. I wouldn't have to go anywhere. So that's what I'm saying. You don't have to take it quite to that level, but my point is, I think preparation, even in the Christian community, is being vastly undermined, and people are just kind of throwing up their arms, like just saying, well, if God wants me to get me through, he'll get me through. And like, they're not taking any action at all. And I think that's very unscriptural and unwise. Maybe you could pick back up on that. I've got a few more areas I certainly want to hit under the banner of guerrilla warfare and urban tactics. But do you also find that in other belief structures too? Maybe not necessarily where you're coming from, but just in general, like sort of a blasé attitude, like whatever.
No, there's I've been promoting this for many years, it's, listen, I learned this in Boy Scouts, 50 years ago, be prepared.
Right.
This was something that was taught to kids at one time in this country, before we became such a degenerate society. It's just, it's so disgusting, Eric. But, no, I don't find this self-preparedness in many other religions. I don't.
Okay.
So I don't know what to say about that. I know where I live now, I'm among the, not the Quakers, the
Amish?
Not the Amish. The third one, I forget.
Oh, geez.
Mennonites. I'm up here amongst Mennonites, and they're prepared. You see, listen, this preparedness stuff and self-reliance was common and normal 150 years ago. 150 years ago, there was no welfare, there was no unemployment insurance, there was no health insurance, there was no welfare, there was no EBT cards, there was no food stamps, there was nothing. The government did nothing for people 150 years ago. And so they all did for themselves. This was sort of an agricultural farmer kind of mentality. You had to stockpile enough food to get you through the winter. Everybody did that. It was like, putting on your pants in the morning. This is what you did. This is what everybody did. Now, after 150 years of government intervention in everything, every facet of our lives, dumbing us down through education and turning us all into perverts through the movies and TV, yeah, that's gone. But this is how humanity survived for the last 40,000 years, by relying on themselves. And in terms of, unemployment insurance, and welfare and health insurance and doctors and hospital costs and retirement, that was all taken care of by people themselves through forming communities that were at one time called unions or lodges or mutual aid societies or friendly societies. Everybody was able to look after themselves, and through the churches as well. Everybody was able to look after themselves without, outside interference or outside help. And this was part of our character, our nature. We have been so dumbed down and so weakened that to tell people, oh, maybe you should have 3 months worth of food. Oh, they're shocked or horrified. Why would we do that? That's paranoia. That's conspiracy theory. That's something I can't wrap my head around. Look, this is the way we came this far because our ancestors did exactly that.
Now, in regards to some of your other videos here, maybe we can highlight some of these. Again, get over to Stefan's YouTube channel. Just type in his name, Stefan Verstappen. You'll see awful lot of great content here. Of course, the tyranny of words. You got a 3-part series here. Maybe you can kind of get us caught up to speed for those who haven't checked out this video series.
Well, I was talking with my doctor friend, Dr. Ronald Kapp. He's an emergency room MD. We've been friends for many years, and when I write my books, I often include, topics on anatomy and brain function and things like that. And I researched the hell out of it myself first, and then I run it by Dr. Ron. He's an MD. So I would say, Dr. Ron, if I take off my shoes and I go in the forest barefoot, is it true that I will discharge the negative ions in my body into the earth, and that will make me healthier? And it's true. Go barefoot in the park. One of the greatest health techniques. The Japanese have known about this for centuries. They do it all the time. They call it forest bathing. And so I run everything by Dr. Ron. And okay, I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
We were talking about the summary for the tyranny of words.
Oh, so the tyranny of words. So Dr. Ron and I, we talk all the time. And I told Dr. Ron, I'm really concerned about one of the problems I have is, why do we have so many wars? What is it about some lying piece of crap politician, pedophile, serial killer standing up in front of a microphone and just spewing lies? Why is that enable millions of men to go out and kill and die for nothing? Like, what is it? Why do words have so much power over us? So he wrote 3 essays on how words affect us. And I'll be honest with you, it's pretty technical. You need to have a basic understanding of brain function, the different parts of the brain and how they work together. And so I recorded his essays and I added my own introduction and summary to each one of the essays. But the thing is, this is where critical thinking comes in. The problem is, we get these propagandists. They know the key words to say that will arouse an emotional reaction in people. And this emotional reaction is triggered in what's called the amygdala in the brain, which is the sort of mammal part of the brain, the emotional part. And it bypasses the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex is the intellectual part of your body or your brain. It's the one that can analyze the meaning of words and compare them and come to a critical understanding of what they mean. So what happens is, we know with things like, neuro-linguistic programming, and we know that the speech writers for all these politicians, because first of all, none of these politicians write their own speeches. They're far stupid to ever write their own speech. They have teams of psychiatrists and speech writers that analyze every word for its impact and its ability to manipulate people through words. So why are we so easily manipulated through words? And it brings us back to the lack of critical thinking, because we tend to react emotionally to certain trigger words. And when we react emotionally, we subvert, we bypass critical thinking. So they say, look at what the words they're using now all the time with this. Now, we're saving lives, we're preventing deaths, save the children. Oh my God. I was thinking of putting up a commercial where I hold a pistol to my cat's head and say, donate or the cat gets it.
Right. No, it's so true. It's so true, man. I call them, I don't know if you've seen that, the Netflix series on R. Kelly, where he psychologically manipulates younger women into his sex cult or whatever. I call these people, these psychopaths, the R. Kellys of the world, man. They know how the mind works. They know how to use social media. They know how to use psychology basically against us. And these buzzwords, crimes against humanity, and trust the plan, even with Q. Again, I'm not a Q person. I think it very much ties into Kabbalah. And as a matter of fact, the guy that I've got deemed to be the Antichrist, that's how he finishes his sermons. Trust the plan. So I've been trying to point this out to the Trump people. I'm like, man, you're being sucked into a psyop here. You better be careful. But now I apologize. We're a little bit late into the program, Stefan. We will probably have about maybe a little over 5 minutes. I know you wanted to get into the 3 steps of urban tactics under communism, and I think that last one you said would take
time for that. We won't have time.
Yeah, so if we could cover maybe at least the first one, or if we could get through the first 2, a synopsis, and we'll leave the last one for next month.
Okay, so first of all, everybody has to understand that we are now under a worldwide communist tyranny. It's and communism. I'm coming out with another video. My worst nightmare come true, and communism is the worst nightmare. I mean, I've been prepping since I was 12. I would laugh at a zombie apocalypse. I would chuckle at a nuclear annihilation. I would wear a Speedo with global warming. All of the things I'm prepared for. I'm ready. I can deal with them. I can survive them. But what you can't survive is communism, because communism is a spiritual cancer on the spirit of a nation. And it creates fear and paranoia, and you can't trust anyone. And so, because look what they've done. They've turned everybody into snitches. They've even passed a law now, or they're trying to pass a law in England, where they allow children to inform on their parents. So you can't trust anyone. You say one thing that's politically incorrect, and somebody hears it, somebody in human resources or a co-worker or your stupid brother-in-law, or now even your own kids, they will inform on you to the police. And we've seen now how many videos of police officers showing up at people's doors and saying, oh, you posted this on Twitter, we need to talk to you. I mean, come on, people, this is communism full blown. So okay, one urban survival tactic to use under communism: you need to establish among your friends and family a system of code words, so that you can communicate with each other, even in front of the secret services, even if they're listening in on you. Excuse me. You need to establish a set of codes. One code word that I recommend everybody establish with their family is to signify that the secret police are here, they're waiting for you, don't come home. Now, I base this on Solzhenitsyn's quotation, how we burned it into camps. When you read the account of what the Soviets did, and the horror, and how Solzhenitsyn said, if only we had waited for them in the hallway with a baseball bat or something, then we would have been spared the horror of the camps. And I'm thinking, yeah, how can you prevent that? So let me give you an example.
Sure.
The secret police come and they're at your house now, but you're at work, and they tell your wife, phone your husband, tell him to come home right away, because we want to pick you all up and send you to the indoctrination camp or the re-education camp or the FEMA camp or the quarantine camp or the death camp, whatever the hell they're going to be calling it. They'll be calling it happy camp, trust me.
Yeah, Disneyland.
Yeah. Come on, kids, let's go to the happy camp where we're all murdered.
Take a ride on Fauci Island, right?
Let's visit Epstein Island where you will learn how to be buggered. Or Fauci Island. It just goes on and on. The cast of demonic characters is unbelievable. But so listen, I'm just saying this is one example, okay? So the wife gets on the phone and says, honey, where are you now? You should come home right away. Now, the secret police that are standing next to her, listening to the phone call, did not catch the code word, and neither did anybody listening right now. Here's the code word. The code word is now. If I use the word now in a sentence, that means the secret police are here. They're waiting for you. Do not come home. So if I were to ask an innocent question, where are you? That's fine. There's no code word in there. Where are you now? Come home. That means don't come home. Now, you have a couple of options. You have to plan this out. One option is that when you hear that code word, first of all, you don't go home. You immediately contact the human rights lawyer you should have on retainer. Because when you are arrested and detained by the communist secret police, the Cheka, the sooner you can have an intervention, the better your chances of getting out of imprisonment. In other words, they're going to take you to the local prison. If by the time you get there, you have your human rights lawyer already at the police station filing injunctions for your release, you have a better chance of escaping. If you wait until you're processed into a penitentiary system, your chances of getting out are almost zero. And if you wait until they've processed you into a death camp, that's it. It's over. So you need to have a backup plan. Now, let's say the situation is so bad, and I'm going to shock a lot of people with this, what I'm going to tell you next. But let's say there's no hope of a legal solution to this. You've got your lawyer at the police station posting bail for you so you can get out. Let's say that's not a possibility at all. Once they arrest you, they put you in the van, nobody sees you again, and maybe 1,500 years from now they dig up some mass graves and they wonder what the hell happened. In that case, your backup plan might be to set up a sniper position out in front of your house. Mm-hmm. If you're a good shot, you can take out the first 3 secret police. And you've already trained your family that if they're being arrested and they hear gunshots, to immediately duck and run for it and have a prearranged place where they can run to, where you can all meet up. I mean, you got to think this out a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm always talking about you got to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. What's the alternative? The alternative, you don't want to know. I've read the accounts of what happens in these camps. And even if you fail, if you can't take out the Secret Service, then shoot your own family, because it'll be better than what will happen to them in the camps. You don't know what these people do. You don't know what they're capable of. I do, and the knowledge of that haunts me and has affected me. I have to face that evil, because I'm a strong guy. I'm a warrior. I can face that evil. But most people, if I were to tell you just a tenth of what will happen to you in the camps, you will go mad. So, code words for everything. I'll give you another example. I have firearms One firearm I have is a Mossberg 500. Now, my code word for the Mossberg is Aunt Bessie. It's Bessie the blunderbuss, right?
Right.
So we had this arranged. I had this arranged with my wife. If I were to use the words Aunt Bessie in a sentence, that means go and get the shotgun. Honey, can you check in on Aunt Bessie? I think she's not feeling well. That means go get the shotgun, right? So I've got lots of code words for different activities that you want to take that might take place. But for you listeners out there, you got to have certain code words. The code words, for example, let's say you go to a meeting with your friends and you're bringing a guest. What if the guest is undercover police and they're forcing you because they got your wife and kids? How do you warn the other members of your group that this guy is not good? You tell them, oh, he's an old friend. Old friend is a code word. This guy's an undercover police. And everybody knows that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, I mean, I'm just asking it because I don't know.
Obviously. Yeah, go ahead.
This is interesting. I mean, is this sort of, is this something that you would just have to come up with your family? I mean, sit down and make like sort of a code word book to where everyone is on the same page? Or, I mean, do you advocate like let's say for Christians, like, okay, come up with it for the entire sect of, like Christianity? You know what I mean? Like, is it more like, what's it, like more exact for your family, or should it be like on a more macro level that everyone kind of, because I was actually joking about this with a friend, and I'm glad you're taking it to this level. I mean, we're not quite yet at that step, although I know I've mentioned to you off air and on air that, I mean, our model suggests we go full blown communist here. And now that we got Biden in with Harris, I mean, we could see how we're going to be on an accelerated path. But my point is, I was joking the other day in doing some media appearances, because my media appearances typically get pulled down very quickly. I said we would have to use code words for just talking about Trump or vaccine. So I threw out there like bologna sandwich. I said, peanut butter and jelly. And I was sort of joking, but I wasn't, because, the censorship. I mean, you say QAnon, you say vaccines, or you say something like that, and videos get pulled down. So, I mean, this is what you're saying is we're eventually going to get to that point where you're going to have these people show up at your door, and you need to be prepared.
We're at that point already, Eric. Look at all the videos where people actually mention the beer virus.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They get. The police come to their door and knock on their door in England, in Germany, in Canada. Oh, we'd like to talk to you about what you said about the beer virus and how you don't believe it's true. And look, we already got to use code words, and I believe in using both. First of all, have very specific code words that you use within your family. Code words that will warn people, warn your family members, don't come home. There's people here waiting. I mean, it might be the secret police. It might be home invaders, looking to rob your preps. I mean, you have to have a code word. Don't come home. Warning. Or there's a code word that says, listen, we got to go to the retreat location. All right. Everybody has to set up in advance a fallback location and a rendezvous location, right? 2 locations, one that's close by, might be the local coffee shop, could be the park, that's 2 miles away, let's all meet up at the park, by the barbecue or whatever. You need to establish means of retreat and safe houses, and you need code words to warn people when those things occur. I'll tell you, I wrote the book for kids, the little warriors. And one of the tactics or one of the techniques to make sure your kids are safe is to have a code word for your children. Now, the reason for that is pedophiles often use a tactic whereby once they know the kid's name, right, and that's pretty easy to find out, they hang around the schoolyard, they wait, or they see the name printed on their shirt or something. Never print your kid's name on their clothes, right? But they'll go up to the kid and they'll say, oh, your mom's been in an accident. She sent me to drive you to the hospital. That's a very common tactic among pedophiles. So the way to counter that is your mom and dad and your kids have a code word that if this guy is real, he will know the code word. So the kid is instructed to ask. And I've taught this to many kids. It's easy for them to pick up. I go through a role playing with them that, your mom sent me to go pick you up. The kid is supposed to say, oh, and what's the code word? Now, the code word might be Aunt Jemima or Sunday Blues or something like that, whatever you want. If the person can repeat the code word, then the child knows that he or she can trust this person. And if the person doesn't know the code word, then the child is instructed to go back into the school and to go to the principal's office and have them phone your parents or phone their parents. So it's the same thing. We need to do the same thing. We need to have code words that will warn people. There are predators here. There are secret police here. There are Antifa here. There are home invaders. There's robbers. You need a code word so that they don't fall into the trap. And how many situations you can think up, find a code word for it. And then there's also the macro scale. We have to use code words now because, look, everybody who is a Trump supporter is now labeled a domestic terrorist. I mean, this is madness to the ninth degree. Listen, so we have to have a code word for Christians. We have to have a code word for patriots. We have to have a code word for conservatives. We can't refer to each other by those titles anymore because it's going to put a target on your back. So think about it, folks. There's a lot of nuance to this. There's a lot of planning, but using our own codes to discuss things, they used to have and then you have to change the codes because eventually they figure out the codes. So you have to change them from time to time. Your own personal codes within your family, you don't have to change. But the code words we're going to use for the pandemic and for the vaccines and all that, they'll figure out the code words, and then we have to change them again. We have to stay one step ahead of them. But otherwise, how can you talk about these things?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy. We're even discussing this in 2021, I must admit, but this is where we're at, folks, and we need people like Stefan Verstappen, who not only has seen a lot, but knows a lot. And this is going to be a great segue, if you will, into our shameless self-promotion time, Stefan. So we're looking forward to not only getting you back on next month, but also part of the web conference. We want to keep your work moving forward as we continue to grow. Hopefully, we get more and more people to follow your work. So that's one of the intentions here. What do we need to promote this month, Stefan?
The same thing I promote every month, which is my survival library. Knowledge is power. And if the power were to suddenly go off and we were completely isolated, we would require hundreds, if not thousands, of different skills to survive. Now, as smart as I am, I have not mastered every skill of survival. So instead, what I've done is I've amassed a collection of books that cover every aspect and every possible solution to surviving innumerable disasters. And that's called the Survival Library. And you can download it. It's instant download. Go to my website, chinastrategies.com. And it's only like $39.95. I'm going to have to raise the price next month. So it's a fantastic deal. Everybody that's downloaded it, and I've sold thousands of downloads. Everybody says it's the best bargain on the internet. And you download all these files, 280 books plus all my books. So we're looking at 300 books.
Wow.
All in PDF. You download it, you save it on a flash drive. And then when you need that knowledge, it's at your fingertips, right? If the internet goes down, you can't Google it anymore. How are you going to find out about it? So, and this covers everything from shelter to medicine to self-defense to improvised weapons to search and rescue, hunting, gardening, aquaponics, you name it, alternative energy, wind, solar. It has the plans and instructions to build dozens of different types of devices. Wow. So anyways, this is back to our self-reliance. So knowledge is power. download all these books, keep them on file, and if you need them, and you will, then it's there, and you'll be able to have the knowledge to overcome any adversity.
Yeah, good stuff, Stefan. Looking forward to next month.